High impact leaders don't spend more time deciding, they actually decide less because their standards already made the call. Here's what most leaders miss. What drains them isn't the volume of decisions, it's having to make the same ones over and over and over again because expectations were never made clear. When standards are unclear, leaders become referees, constantly stepping in, constantly having to deal with conflict, breaking ties and reworking decisions that, if we're honest, never should have came to them in the first place. High impact leaders play a different role. They become coaches, they set standards, they define expectations, and they reinforce them consistently. Today, I want to show you how to define your leadership principles, how to communicate them clearly, and use them to coach performance, navigate hard conversations, and create decision clarity across your team. Let's dive in. A lot of leaders I work with constantly talk about wanting faster execution. But speed without standards doesn't scale. Because when standards are unclear, teams hesitate, decisions get escalated, work gets redone, and leaders find themselves stuck in the weeds. So high impact leaders don't start by asking, how do we move faster? They ask a better question. What habits and behaviors make this team successful? Because once that's clear, speed and execution become a byproduct. Leadership principles, and I talk about this often, aren't value posters. They're how you coach when you're not in a room. They answer questions like, how do we operate under pressure? What behaviors do we expect when things go sideways? How do we handle trade-offs, conflict, and uncertainty? One leader I work with had a simple principle, really super simple. Create a plan, manage the plan. That was it, right? The key here is it wasn't a slogan, it was his standard. It meant no reacting, right? No abandoning strategy because something felt urgent in the moment, right? No improvising when pressure hit. When someone on his team struggled, the conversation wasn't personal. It became principled. He would often say things like, where did we stop managing the plan? I always hear him say that again. I love that, right? That's the power of standards. See, they remove emotion from coaching and replace it with clarity. Here's what most leaders miss. They try to write inspirational principles instead of operational ones. High impact leaders define principles by getting clear on three things. First, what are the habits that drive success for you and your team? You got to ask yourself, what do my best people constantly do? Start there, right? What behaviors do they exhibit that move business forward so we can remodel them? What habits reduce friction and rework? Those become your standards. They're not vague ideas. They're observable behaviors from your best people. Second is, what do you tolerate and what will you not tolerate? And this gets uncomfortable, but it's necessary. So your principles should reflect your non-negotiables, right? They should address your pet peeves. Like, so am I. Like, I talk about the things that are my pet peeves. Like, I rework them to part of my principles. I mean, what's the advice you give repeatedly? Because what you tolerate becomes your culture. Third is, how do you expect people to think? See, great principles shape judgment. Instead of saying something like, bring decisions to me, right? You should say something like, here's how we decide. So let's talk now about communicating them, right? And where most leaders fail, right? Standards don't work if they live only in your head. High impact leaders have to say them out loud. You got to say them often. You got to say them clearly. You got to repeat them. You got to introduce them in planning sessions, team offsites, kickoff conversations, one-on-one coaching. And you got to say it in plain language. This is how we operate. This is what I expect. This is how we handle pressure. Then, and this matters, you got to revisit them a lot because clarity requires reinforcement. You can use your leadership principles to coach your team, to make decisions, navigate hard conversations. This is how you'll scale. This is how you'll gain time back. Instead of debating opinions, reference your standards. Which option that you're bringing forward to me aligns with how we operate? What principle applies here? What would ownership look like in this situation? When you start acting like this, decisions move down to your team, not up to you. Coaching becomes objective, and difficult conversations become grounded, not emotional. You're no longer reacting. You're reinforcing what matters. High impact leadership isn't about being available for every decision. It's about setting the standard that guide decisions when you're not in the room. Your principles define what you stand for. Your standards define what you tolerate. And together, they create faster execution. They drive stronger accountability. They get you leadership leverage. And when the expectations are clear, teams actually move faster. You get more time and space back, and momentum becomes predictable. If you're ready to elevate your leadership brand, influence, and impact, I got something for you. Download my free ebook, The CEO Shift. Empower your leaders to think like entrepreneurs and actually lead with the energy and grit of an owner. Inside, I'll walk you through how to elevate your leadership, how to drive alignment, and how to build a high-performance team that truly owns the mission. If you're not quite ready for that yet, that's cool. Then let me send you a signed copy of my book, Freedom to Experiment. It's all about reigniting energy for yourself and your team, sharpening focus, and building momentum that lasts. I'll cover the cost of the book. All I ask is that you handle shipping. Hit the link in the description, and we'll take care of the rest. If this message today hit home, here's how you can help others find it too. First of all, give this video a like. If you're ready to define a standard your team operates, book an exploratory call, and let's build them together. And third, and most importantly, subscribe, because every week I'm sharing strategies and tactics to help you and your team embrace change, focus your efforts, and accelerate results. Remember this, you're just one idea away. I'll talk to you in the next video.